Bienvenidos, Happy New Year, and welcome back to Puro Pinche Gol, the place we discuss all things USMNT y la selección mexicana. My name is Adrian. Joining me once again, my co-host Tocayo, Adrian. Adrian, what's good, man?
Hey, how's it going, dude? Feliz 2024. Out here in my hometown, Monterrey, spending some days with the fam, getting ready for Liga MX and maybe the Cupcake Camp.
Yeah, Liga MX is right around the corner. We know it starts here real early, real soon. And yeah, there haven't had heard any major news about Camp Cupcake, but it's been something that's been happening the past couple of years, definitely. So I do not think that they'll avoid it this year. Adrian, not while we're here to discuss kind of January 2024 transfer window, man. A lot of important big names for USMNT looking to move in search of game time, and a lot have already moved and have made some big moves. So let's start off with kind of the players that we would like to see move. This list was bigger earlier today, but there's been a lot of movement to the USMNT camp here, January transfer window on the 3rd of January today. So we'll discuss that later on in this video. But there's still 4 players that we kind of want to highlight here on PPG that definitely, in our opinion, need to move. Starting with probably the most influential, the most important one, Gio Reyna, Borussia Dortmund, BVB. Somebody that has obviously the last couple seasons been riddled with injury after injury, suffering for game time and not really finding his way back into the starting lineup permanently. There's a sub here or there for 20, 30 minutes, but never really gets a run of games going. The coach, Terzic, seems to prefer other players. And kind of just to put the final nail in the coffin there for BVB, for Gio Reyna, it looks like they're in process of finalizing a loan deal for Jadon Sancho back from Manchester United. So that will further limit Gio's game time. Absolutely, I think you and I are in agreement. Gio kind of has to move on from BVB.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that he needs to find greener pastures outside of the Borussia von Dortmund. I'm not too sure a winter move might be the best thing for him right now. I honestly, unless if it's a smaller team, I find it very difficult for him to make or have an impact in the next 6 months. I understand that he needs to get some play time so he gets fit and ready for Copaamerica next summer. But I find it somewhat hard to for him to materialize a move. I think there's some like 50-50 chances right now. Definitely they will increase as time goes on and we hit summer, especially if he has a outstanding Copa America, then I will say yes, definitely odds out there will be 95% that he needs to move and he should move and most likely will move. But I think right now, I it sucks because he has been able to be somewhat in shape, right? Avoiding injuries like he has done in the past. I think he went through like a 12 game spell without having any injuries, and even then he wasn't being taken in consideration by the current coach in Borussia Dortmund. So I 100% agree. I'm just a little, I guess, on the fence on if it's really beneficial for him to find a 6 month a loan spell, right? I wonder how many teams will be open to have that kind of a loan spell and either having a buy clause after the loan spell or just agreeing to pay his salary, which I'm not too sure if it's too high, but definitely will be a point of contention if he's trying to go to a smaller team.
Yeah, usually I see the points on both sides here. Usually players that make moves during the January transfer window, not always obviously, but it's been known that a lot of them move to teams that are struggling, looking to reinforce because they're fighting relegation. I don't think that's kind of what Gio needs right now, that extra pressure. Um, Definitely, it's going to be hard to find a team that kind of suits him in such a short window. But I agree. I could also see the point that you made that maybe wait till the summer, where you go to Copa America, you showcase your talents. Maybe you could have find more suitors, but at the same time, if you wait that long and don't leave, you might not play well in Copa America, right? Because you're not match fit. So definitely a big decision here. Does he leave on a loan for 6 months? Maybe fight relegation somewhere, or maybe he gets into a club that's not fighting relegation and everything works out for him. You never know. But yeah, Gio Reyna definitely somebody that needs to clarify his future here in the short term and the long term. Moving on from Gio Reyna, somebody else, probably not as critical, but definitely at a position where the USMNT has previously been very strong at, not so much so recently. Ethanhorvath, Nottingham Forest, he's now third in the pecking order there, behind Mattturner, behind Vlachodimos. He could see himself fall to the fourth. There's some rumors that Nottingham Forest are looking to find another goalkeeper this January because they're not happy with their current two. He definitely needs game time. He had that great performance in the Nations League, the inaugural Nations League a couple of years ago now, and hasn't really had a consistent game time other than Luton Town last year. But even if it means returning to MLS, man, I think it's better than not playing anywhere and not getting game time. Ethan
Oh,
Horvath, what do you think of him?
yeah, 100%. This is one of the guys that, I am on the other side of. He needs to move right away. He doesn't need to wait until the end of his contract or the end of the season to find a spot. I know that, at least online, I was going through some of recent news about Horvath, and it looks like he has a good stock on the championship, right? And he might be, a fit player for one of those teams that is looking to either get promoted or at least fight for that promotion battle, if not this end of the season, but early next season. So yes, I think. Also, I was listening to a couple of podcasts, and it looks like at least the insiders are saying that he prefers to stay in England rather than to come back to the MLS. But I wouldn't be surprised if he, ends up just caving to an MLS offer because let's be honest, I don't think he's gonna get a reasonable or juicy contract in any of the top five leagues in Europe. And albeit you can consider Championship to be one, perhaps in contention to be one of those top five leagues in Europe, but he needs to make a movement if he wants to keep his stock at a decent level with the USMNT and be considered by Triple G as a viable option of a backup keeper for the national team. Then for sure he needs to be at least at a team in whatever country where he's going to be the first choice of a keeper.
For sure, man. Moving on to some younger guys playing their football right now in MLS. Jesus Ferreira, FC Dallas, looking to prove himself abroad, needing to prove himself abroad. If he doesn't, it looks like he'll be definitely down the pecking order for the USMNT behind Balogun, behind Pepe, behind a couple others. Right, Josh Sargent that came back with a bang in 2024, started off his first game back. Substitution appearance and got a goal kicking off where he picking up where he left off right before the injury. We've seen what Jesus Ferreira can do in the MLS. We've seen we can do against island nations, the Gold Cup. But now it's time for him to kind of move to greener pastures and see if he can do that in cold, rainy night in Stoke. Not necessarily in the EPL, but can he do it in another maybe tougher league, right? A league that's more defensive heavy. We know that MLS likes to leak a lot of goals. So Jesus Ferreira, yeah. I mean, would you like to see him move abroad?
I mean, it would be nice to see him move abroad, right? But I see Ferreira as the next generation Wondolowski. I think he's going to be an MLSer for life. I mean, I would like to be wrong and get called out after we publish this episode if he ever gets a move to Europe. But I don't see that happening anytime soon. I don't think he has the cartel, the actual PR or the clout behind him to promote or push for a move to Europe. I see him maybe joining a side of like Groningen or some middle of the table team in Belgium, something like that. I mean, I would like to say something different, but I honestly don't see how he can fit on a middle of the table La Liga or Premier League, Serie A, Ligue 1 team. Um, and I also am gonna say that he's probably gonna get way more money making a move in MLS or maybe even in Liga MX than actually go into Europe. He's probably one of those players that has clout and pull in MLS because of his USMNT features, right? And he can definitely get a designated player contract outside of FC Dallas, which will pay him significantly more than a small team in any of the leagues in Europe. So I find it really hard for him to find a move this winter or even the summer. And if that happens, I'm more than happy to be called a clown, dude.
Prove us wrong, Jesus Ferreira. Call Adrian a clown. We'll see what he does, man. I mean, definitely, I agree with you. He could probably make more bank from a big team in MLS than a smaller team from Belgium or something. But somebody else, another 20-year-old, this is a dual national Mexican American guy, El Caballo Cal. Um, he's had interest from a few Euro teams in the past. He's had interest from some Liga MX teams. He wouldn't count as a foreigner if he played in Liga MX. So there's always that. He's already had over 100 appearances for San Jose with 10 goals, and so he's maybe one of the up and coming, or not maybe, he is one of the up and coming youngsters from MLS that bright future. We've seen what he can do in instances there for USMNT. We're a fan of his, but yeah, Caballo Cal, we definitely like to see him move on and try to play his football elsewhere there.
Yeah, he needs to find a new spot because I think he has proven himself at MLS. I agree with some people, at least on the on the intrawebs and pundits, saying that he still has room for growth in MLS and maturity at the MLS level. But I think there isn't that much for him to keep on learning at MLS. I think if he finds a way to make a move to a small side, even in a league like Portugal or even Liga MX, right? I think he will grow as a player and still have enough clout and years on his side to eventually make the move to a European side if he ever gets that chance.
Yeah, Cade Cal, definitely probably not as urgent as a couple of the other ones to make a move, but definitely one for the future, and one that if he can make a move, we're all here for it. Those are kind of the four that we were mentioning and highlighting here. That list has, like I said, reduced here recently as there've been a lot of transfers in the last couple of days. And we want to kind of go through those, kind of give a summary of what's been happening here in the January transfer window. The first real big transfer of the month was Johnny Cardoso, the 22-year-old signed for Real Betis on December 27th. Real Betis, obviously in La Liga in Spain. He signed for a 5-year deal, and he's been since 2019 with Internazionale de Brasil, making over 115 caps, scoring 6 goals. Johnny Cardoso, somebody that kind of maybe not an automatic starter for the USMNT, but definitely a good like role player that could come in and fill in for an injury, a yellow card, or accumulation or red card suspension. Somebody that's only 22 years old and can eventually maybe work his way up to becoming a regular starter for the USMNT. So Johnny Cardoso to Spain, man, exciting move.
Strong move, yeah, good choice. Going to a competitive team, a team that it's in need of midfielders because I think Gil Rodriguez is injured, and then of course if you look at the roster, they have very mature players to put it nicely, in the names of Andres Guardado. So they really need to robust that area, and I think this is a outstanding move for Johnny Cardoso.
Yeah, so good move, Johnny Cardoso. A team that we like to see USMNT players and three players go to this type of team. That's a mid-table team in one of the big leagues in Europe. Get game time, and yeah, I mean, definitely you can't do much better than that. Another one that made a big move today on the 3rd of January, Brandon Vasquez, FC Cincinnati forward. He had previously kind of presented his desire to move from Cincinnati, kind of move abroad. He had interest from Monterrey and Liga MX and from Brentford in the PL. Brentford was obviously looking to spend some money on him with Ivan Toney kind of moving on to greener pastures. But it was revealed today Monterrey splashed the cash, man. $8.5 million for Brandon Vasquez. Brandon Vasquez, who we know has is a dual national. He has his Mexican passport, American passport, so he won't count as a foreign player playing Liga MX. And the big question I want to ask to you, man, will Monterrey fans be patient with Brandon Vasquez if he starts slow? And do you think he's starting ahead of Bertrame?
Very two good questions. I don't think they're gonna be patient with Brandon Vasquez if he doesn't output good I guess performances with Monterrey right away. And I tell you this, I don't think it's because he's a USMNT player or he comes from the MLS. I think it doesn't really matter who comes to Monterrey. They are in a stage where the fans are just desperate and frustrated because Tigres has been, their biggest competitor, and of course they're now living in the shadows of the greatness of Tigres, right, for the last couple of years. So it doesn't really matter if it was Brandon Vasquez or the top scorer in Liga MX. They're gonna put pressure on whoever joined just because of that specific reason. They earn trophies. They haven't been able to have strong performances in Liguilla, so he's going to be under a lot of pressure. Will he start ahead of Berterame? Here is my thing. I don't think he will start ahead of Berterame, but he will definitely maybe find his way into starting with Berterame. And the reason I say this is because we know that Brandon Vasquez can actually play as a striker, but he's also a good central forward. Um, if you take a look back at when Tan Ortiz was playing with or coaching America, he used to have Henry Martin and another striker. Henry Martin acting as the hustler, that forward who will retain the ball and muscle up against the position and then find someone else ahead of him, either Cabecita or in this case Julian Quiñones, even though Tan Ortiz didn't have Julian Quiñones at the time, to be that opportunistic striker moving forward, carrying on the ball and scoring. So I think he will be a good complement for Berterame. It really sucks to see him go to a Liga MX side instead of going to Europe. I'm not. I don't necessarily think it's a bad move because I still believe that Liga MX is slightly better than MLS, but it's just this just puts a huge damper on his opportunity or chances of going to or having a European move anytime soon. I don't think he's going to be able to move anyways because an $8.5 million tag on his name is just a uh, like he's like a now he's a scarecrow for middle of the table, lower or lower, I guess, smaller teams in Europe. No one's gonna pay that kind of money for him, and he's probably gonna get a lot of dough in Monterrey.
Yeah, I mean he's getting the bag for sure, and I'm sure Monterrey outpriced, out cashed everybody else, all the other competitors. But I agree, if this might have been his one chance to make a big move, a big splash in Europe, unless he does amazing in Monterrey. This could go sour if he doesn't get a lot of goals, gets one or two a season. There's no way a European move's on the cards anymore, right? So it's either going to be a big payoff, big reward. He does a couple of great seasons with Monterrey and gets a huge move to Europe in a couple of years. I mean, we forget he's still very young, or not very young, but young, right? And or he just becomes a role player in Monterrey until he gets loaned out and kind of finishes his contract there. But yeah, Brandon Vasquez, big move to Monterrey. Um, Another big move that kind of got a lot of question marks going on behind, before it happened. Where was Miles Robinson going to end up on? Was he staying with MLS? Was he going to go to Europe? Ultimately, the Atlanta United defender who was out of contract, signed for FC Cincinnati. As you know, he played with Atlanta from 2017 to 2023, winning a U.S. Open Cup and winning a MLS Cup. He's got 27 senior caps for USMNT, scoring 3 goals. 26 years old. I mean, not going to say his chance to go to Europe is over since he only signed for a 1-year contract with an optional second year. But maybe this was his big chance, and it's kind of disappointing that he's staying. Obviously, it's one of the better teams in MLS, right? FC Cincinnati, but still, I mean, you'd want your best players going to Europe.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's kind of disappointing to see him signing with another MLS side. This makes me feel that he is the heir of Walker Zimmerman's spot. he's
Yeah,
I have this I guess paints it in a way that he's gonna be another MLS lifer. Just like I said it with what's his name, Ferreira. I think he's gonna be one of those players that stays with MLS, makes a big buck on MLS, and Triple G has shown that he doesn't really value a lot or significantly playing in Europe, regardless of the league, right? Triple G likes to put some MLS sprinkles here and there, and if Miles Robinson is able to keep up, a good performance and shape at MLS, I don't think he's that far away from getting, called up for Copa America and even a World Cup if necessary.
yeah, but I think, and I don't have a problem with that, right? I think most USMNT players don't have a problem with that. But as long as he's probably going to have to settle for being a role player, squad player, a bench defender that really is going to have to be behind the likes of Tim Ream or others, right? The Crystal Palace defender, his name is
Chris?
eluding me. Chris Richards. There we go. Yeah,
Yeah.
stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, Miles Robinson signing for a year with FC Cincinnati. The next two I want to talk about kind of just go hand in hand here, just because they're signing for the same team. Colorado Rapids making big moves this January, signing or a point of close to signing Georgi Mihailovic, the 25-year-old who previously signed for AZ Alkmaar back in 2023. He made 23 appearances with AZ and scored 1 goal. Of course, we made a video highlighting his great start with AZ. He started off really well, but then got injured, limited his participation, limited his amount of play time he got. He never really was able to find his rhythm back. And today, January 3rd, is kind of being reported that he's very, very close to signing back with MLS with Colorado Rapids with around club record fee north of $3 million. So Georgi Mihailovic, you really don't like to see players coming back so early from Europe. But props for at least going to try yourself in Europe, I guess. But I guess he's back in MLS.
Yo, he lasted what, like 12 months or even less than 12 months at
Yeah, I think less
as
than
it.
12 months. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Jesus, man. I know at least I criticize a lot whenever that happens with Mexican players, but I have to do the same thing for the USMNT. I understand that Georgia Mihailovic doesn't play a heavy role at the USMNT. He was probably one of those, B to C uh, players on in the roster. This only puts him in a more difficult position because playing for Colorado Rapids is not the way to go to be a featured player for the USMNT. Then again, we have Triple G, who he takes people that he likes and suit his style of play. So that sucks. But hey, if he's homesick, and I guess he's gonna get a pretty penny. I mean, I get it, man.
Yeah, I guess better to be playing for Colorado than not playing at all. Another player that signed with Colorado recently, not as designated player, doesn't take up a DP spot. Zack Steffen, somebody who has been with Man City since 2019. Obviously, only made 2 appearances for Man City. Went on a loan for a year with Dusseldorf, and then at Middlesbrough in the championship. Did well. Spent most of 2023 injured. We know he got that injury early last year. But yeah, he officially signed for Colorado Rapids for a 3-year deal and optional 4th year. This was one that I really don't have a huge problem with. Yeah, it would have been nice for him to stay maybe in the championship, but in MLS, keepers get tested a lot due to the lack of defensive prowess there. So if this could get him probably playing at least consistently, goalkeeper is probably not the most important position that you need to be having in Europe, but obviously still kind of disappointing to see him back so soon.
Yeah, and especially someone who showed a lot of I guess talent and at least a ceiling to keep on competing for that number one role at the USMNT squad. I agree with you. I think for him, it was a situation of I gotta play, I gotta come back, I gotta start getting some minutes, get sharp. Because if we are critical or at least realistic about the USMNT goalkeeping options, even though they don't lack on that side, there's only actually what, maybe two that are competing at a more challenging stage in the name of Eslonina and Mattturner. The other ones are kind of struggling for minutes here and there on their respective teams. So, hey, going back to the MLS, while in paper seems to be detrimental, I think for a player like Zack Steffen, it isn't necessarily a huge impact on his USMNT stock. And on the other hand, he will get the sought after minutes that he was yearning since coming back from injury.
Yeah, for sure, man. Last one, kind of want to mention here: Brendanaaronson, 23 years old, currently on loan with Union Berlin. He had a decent start at Union. We covered that earlier this year, but he's quickly fallen very hard and very out of favor, and this really turned into a very bad loan for him. He might find himself being called up back by Leeds, though he left Leeds kind of in a sour note, kind of forced his way out, didn't want to play in the championship. Now might be recalled by Leeds just to kind of as they look for promotion back to the EPL. I don't know how that'll go for him since again he kind of left on a bad note. But yeah, Brendanaaronson kind of maybe is hoping to end that Union Berlin loan sooner rather than later.
Yeah, man, he's actually one of those players that I believe he needs to go. And he needs to also get out of Leeds, dude. He needs to go to a place like Eredivisie or the Belgium league or a small team in the Portuguese league. He needs a place where he is guaranteed, a starting position, and he has to fight to retain that position. As I said, I don't think going back to Leeds, or as you said, sorry, I don't think going back to Leeds is the best option. Maybe it's the only one that he has currently. But he gotta get out, dude. He gotta get out of that bad spot that he's in.
For sure. Brendanaaronson, yeah. I mean, the last one we kind of wanted to talk here. Adrian, man. So this is going to be, the January transfer window kind of highlights as of right now. Obviously, we'll be following any developing stories here on PPG. So make sure y'all stick it with us as we wrap this up, dude. Where can listeners find us?
Hey man, new year, same old places to find us. They can find us on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and turn on the notifications. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast on. Last but not least, you can also find us on Twitter and Instagram at Puro Pinche Gol. We post stuff every now and then.
Yeah, make sure to follow us and let us know down in the comments. We like interacting with you guys. Who are you most excited to see move this the January transfer window? Obviously, many of the big important role players have already made moves, but there's still quite a few, especially the big question mark hanging over Gio Reyna. Where would you like to see Gio Reyna end up playing, or would you like to see him kind of battle it out and wait for the summer to kind of make a big move after copaamerica? I definitely like reading your comments there. Adrian, man, new year. New intro to PPG, and we hope you enjoy. We hope you, our listeners, enjoy our 2024 videos. We got a lot coming for you guys this year, so definitely stick it here at PPG. I'll see you in the next one, brother.
Always a pleasure, dude.
Likewise, man. See ya.